You're watching That Lovell-Boland Life.
And in this video, we're going through some of Singapore's strangest laws.
Welcome back to the channel. We are Sam and Rianne, Singapore expats who have called this fine city home for the past 4 years.
Yeah, and when we first moved here, we were kind of surprised and fascinated by some of the quirky laws that exist here in Singapore. So today we're going through some of our favourites.
For example, and maybe one we've all been guilty of if we drank a little bit too much, is that you cannot hug someone without their permission.
Yeah, that's one I certainly can appreciate. So you've just heard that one quirky law, but before we get into the rest of them, we're really trying to achieve 500 subscribers this year, by the end of this year in fact, and that's where you come in. If you haven't already hit that button, please do subscribe. We really appreciate it, and also hit that like button so that more people can find us. Right, let's get on with the video.
So law number 1, and let's start with one of the quirkiest, and it's walking around naked at home. Now you may think that your home is your kingdom, but there are some things that you certainly cannot do here in Singapore, and one of them is walking around naked. Now it's not a flat out walking around naked and you're against the law. For example, if you're in the shower, no one can arrest you for that. If you're in your bedroom and the curtains are closed, you cannot get arrested for that. This law basically pertains that if you're walking around and you can be seen by the public, that is where the law can come in, and that's when you can face a hefty fine.
I mean, it kind of makes sense in a weird way that, you know, HDB blocks are very close together. Neighbours can sort of see into your flat, so it does make sense that this rule exists when you're in close quarters to other people. Number 2 on the list is connecting to someone else's Wi-Fi. Now this is kind of an interesting one for me growing up in the early noughties. I remember so vividly in the UK hanging out of my bedroom window with my laptop trying to literally connect to the neighbour's Wi-Fi, because there it was a little bit patchy, we lived in the countryside, it wasn't great. Having said that, moving to Singapore when we didn't have Wi-Fi initially, it was perfect. It was really great because there's so much public Wi-Fi, very easy to connect. So it's kind of hard to believe that people would connect to other people's Wi-Fi here in Singapore, but don't do it because it is against the law.
I think though this law, again, it's another catchy title, don't hack on someone else's Wi-Fi, and that's where it comes from. It's hacking, and I think that's where the law really comes in. It's basically, you can't hack into someone's computer, hack into their space, hack into their Wi-Fi. Quirky law number 3 is all about pets. Now we do not have any pets.
Not at the moment, at least.
But even if we did want a cat, we couldn't have one because we live in an HDB. But if we wanted a dog, we could.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting rule that cats are not allowed in HDB blocks. I remember when I first found that out, it was like, really? Why? Because it's hard to get your head around the fact that dogs are allowed but cats aren't. So do you know the reasoning behind it?
Well, looking online, they say that cats, because you aren't really controlling them, because they're going around doing their own thing, it means they defecate in certain places, on the void deck, and making noises, all that sort of thing. Whereas I think if you have a dog, you do generally walk it, you take it out and you can let it do its business wherever it wants.
Okay, that makes sense. You have a reason for liking the cats around, don't you?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest cat fan, I'll lay my cards on the table, but because I get up so early in the morning, I have to go to work at like 2 or 3 in the morning, it's always nice to see a cat on the void deck, because the worst thing for me is I'm petrified of rats. So if I know there is a cat there, it means there won't be rats in the vicinity, or if there is a rat in the vicinity, the cat will get it for me.
Yeah, so I mean, as Sam has said, there are cats around, so we do know that it's sort of a rule but not really enforced. Number 4 on the list is annoying annoying someone with a musical instrument. This one I can relate to on a personal level. This time last year, during the circuit breaker, the lockdown period, one of our neighbours decided that it was a good time to start the recorder. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know anyone that likes the sound of a recorder, especially when you're learning it. It is not a pleasant sound. And I was like, guys, seriously, now is not the time. We're all at home, we have to stay home, and you're learning the recorder. And it was driving me crazy. Can you tell? It was awful. So this one I can really relate to, and I think I didn't know that there's a fine of $1,000. If I could have reported it, I would have enjoyed that. But anyway, I digress. It is a very quirky law, but I respect it. I think it deserves, top place. It's a good one.
But reading into this law, it's very interesting because you don't really notice when you walk around Singapore, but when you're in London, when we were in New York a couple of years ago, there are buskers everywhere in a lot of the Western world. But in Singapore, you'll get some people playing music in when you're walking through the MRTs, but it's not really that widespread. And I think part of it is because there is a law on obscene language in music. But I think secondary, they just don't want people busking everywhere in Singapore. They don't want outside performances. So that's why you need a license if you're going to busk.
Oh, I didn't know that. So that's interesting to know. I wonder what, if they have to auditions of
Yeah,
maybe...
they do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you need to audition to get a busking license.
Wow. Well, I wonder if Simon Cowell is involved. I mean, interesting. Okay, cool.
So another quirky law there. Finally, it's one law that I think always gets misinterpreted, and it's all about chewing gum. Now, I always believed that you couldn't have chewing gum in Singapore, and then we moved here.
Yeah, so actually the law is that you cannot sell it. So you can actually have it or bring it into the country so long as it's only just for you that's chewing the gum. You obviously can't sell it to anyone else. When we moved here from Malaysia, I actually did have chewing gum on me and I was expected it to be confiscated, but it wasn't.
Now this law again is coming from a bigger law. Obviously it comes from you can't litter in Singapore, they don't like litter anywhere, they don't like things being chucked on the street, and obviously chewing gum, if that gets on the street, that is
hard to get out.
It takes a long time to get rid of. And there you have it, that was our top 5 favourite quirky laws here in Singapore.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching and learned something in the process. Please do give this video a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button, and we'll catch you on the next one.